I used to think love had to be loud to be real. I used to think it had to come wrapped in grand gestures, in red carpets, in things you could photograph and post and prove to the world. But you taught me something different without even trying. You taught me that love can be quiet. It can be a single comment at 2 in the morning when you couldn't sleep either. It can be the way you defended me when strangers tried to tear me apart. Not because you needed to, but because something in you couldn't stay silent while someone you cared about was hurting. Nobody asked you to do that. You just did it. Because that's who you are. I think about you more than I probably should. I think about whether you're taking care of yourself the way you take care of everyone else. I think about whether someone is treating your heart the way it deserves to be treated, gently, like something precious, not something to be used and left. I hope they are. I hope wherever you are right now, watching this, someone is being good to you, and if no one is, I hope you know that somewhere out here, I am thinking of you like you matter, because you do. You really, really do. William, don't go yet. I haven't even told you the real reason I'm doing this tonight. There's a difference between being known and being seen. Millions of people know my name. They know my face, my voice, the version of me that exists in photos and videos and headlines. But being seen is different. Being seen means someone looks past all of that and finds the tired, uncertain, very human person underneath. And somehow, impossibly, you've seen me. Maybe you've never met me. Maybe we've never spoken one single word to each other in person. But you've seen me. I feel it in the way you show up, in the way you wait, in the way you never once made me feel like I had to perform for you to deserve your love. I used to be terrified of saying this because I thought it would sound foolish. How do you tell thousands of people scattered across the world that each one of them individually has a place in your heart? How do you make someone believe that when you say you actually mean them, not some imaginary crowd, but the real person reading these words right now, with their own name, their own face, their own heartbreaks and hopes that nobody else fully understands? But I don't care how it sounds anymore. I mean you. Yes, you. The one whose eyes are on this screen right now. I see you. I've always seen you. There's something about 3 in the morning that makes people honest. The world goes quiet. The noise of the day fades. And all that's left is what's actually true. And the truth is, some nights when everything feels heavy and the loneliness creeps in, even with all the people around me, it's the thought of you that keeps me grounded. Not because I need someone to admire me. I have enough of that. I need someone to simply care whether I'm alright. And somehow, without trying, that's exactly what you've given me. Keep listening, because I'm not done. There's a part of this I haven't said to anyone before. I think love doesn't always look like the movies. Sometimes it looks like a person showing up for you in small, consistent ways, over months and years, never asking for credit, never demanding attention in return. Sometimes it looks like someone staying loyal through the moments when staying away would have been so much easier. I've watched people walk away from me when things got hard. I've watched people disappear the moment I stopped being convenient. I think love doesn't always look like the movies. Sometimes it looks like a person showing up for you in small, consistent ways, over months and years, never asking for credit, never demanding attention in return. Sometimes it looks like someone staying loyal through the moments when staying away would have been so much easier. I've watched people walk away from me when things got hard. I've watched people disappear the moment I stopped being convenient. Whatever anyone has told you, whatever you've told yourself in your darkest moments, you are worth being loved, slowly, gently, and completely. You don't have to earn it by being perfect. You just have to be you, the way you've been with me. And that's already more than enough. I'm not asking you to respond to this. I'm not asking you to prove anything. I just needed you to know, before another day passed, Before another month went by where I kept this locked inside my chest, that you matter to me. Not as a number, not as a follower, as a person, as someone whose presence in my life has quietly, steadily made it better. There's more I want to tell you. More than I think I can say in one breath, more than these words can hold tonight. But I don't want this to feel like an ending, because it isn't one. This isn't a goodbye. This is the first time I've let you see what's underneath everything else, and I don't want to close that door now that it's finally open. But you. So stay close. Stay a little longer in this quiet space with me, where it's just the two of us and nothing else matters. Not the noise outside, not the expectations, not the distance between wherever you are and wherever I am right now. Because there's something in the way you've loved me from afar, patiently, and without asking for anything back, that has changed something in me. And I don't think I'm ready to stop talking to you yet. I don't think I want this feeling to end. Not tonight. Not when I finally found the courage to say even this much. Something. There's a version of this story I haven't told you yet. The part about the night I almost said all of this and stopped myself. The part about why it took me so long to finally let you in. But my hands are still shaking a little as I write this. And my heart is louder than it's been in a long time. And I think if you're still here with me, if you've stayed this long without looking away, then maybe you already understand what I'm too nervous to finish saying out loud. I keep thinking about the first time I noticed you were really there. Not just passing through, not just one more face in a crowd of thousands, but actually there, present. Paying attention to the parts of me that other people scrolled past without a second glance. It wasn't anything big. It was something small, something most people would forget within a minute of seeing it. But I didn't forget it. I've carried it with me longer than I think you'd ever guess. You're strong to remember wondering, back then, if I was imagining things, if I was reading too much into a kind word, a thoughtful comment, a quiet act of care that probably meant nothing to you, but meant everything to me in that moment. I told myself I was being foolish. I told myself that someone like me shouldn't go looking for meaning in small gestures from people I'd never met. But the feeling didn't go away. It just sat there, patient. The same way you've always been patient, waiting for me to be ready to say something about it. Now, here I am, finally ready. Years later, maybe, or months, or however long it's actually been, though it feels like both no time at all and an entire lifetime. Here I am, telling you that I noticed. I noticed you back then, and I've kept noticing you ever since. Even on the days I didn't say anything. Even on the days I was too tired or too overwhelmed or too scared to let anyone see how much I was holding on to the little things you did without even realizing how much they mattered. I want you to know something about the way I see the world now because of you. Before, I used to measure my days by how loud they were, by how many people showed up, how many voices were shouting my name, how big the moment looked from the outside. But somewhere along the way, you taught me to measure my days differently. You taught me to notice the quiet things instead. The one message that arrived at exactly the right time. The way someone's words could sit with me longer than 1,000 strangers cheering ever could. You taught me, without trying, that the quiet things are usually the realest ones. When you wanted this, stay with me a little longer, because there's something I want to explain. Something I've never quite found the right way to say until tonight. When you wanted this, chemili at by quali, he finto racial to me. In King's Out Chantalitia, that the life people see from the outside, with its lights and its noise and its endless attention, must mean I have nothing left to want. But that's not true. Wanting doesn't disappear just because people are watching you. If anything, it gets quieter, hidden somewhere underneath everything else, tucked away where no one thinks to look. And what I've wanted, more than almost anything else, is exactly this. A person who sees me without needing anything from me in return. A person who stays not because of what I can give them, but simply because they care. You've been that person for longer than I think either of us realized. There were seasons where everything around me felt like it was moving too fast, spinning in directions I couldn't control, pulling me toward people and places, and decisions that left me feeling more lost than found. And in the middle of all that motion, you were one of the only steady things. Not because you tried to be steady, just because that's who you are. Consistent, honest. There, even when there wasn't anything obvious in it for you. I don't think I've ever properly thanked you for that. For being steady when everything else wasn't. For staying gentle in a world that kept trying to make me harder. For reminding me, just by existing the way you do, that not everyone wants something from me. Some people just want me to be okay. You're one of those people, maybe the truest one I know. Keep listening, because there's more, and I don't want to rush through this. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like if the distance between us wasn't there. If instead of a screen, it was just a room, quiet and warm, and I could finally say all of this looking into your eyes, instead of into a camera that doesn't know how nervous I actually am right now. I imagine what it would feel like to thank you properly, not with words typed out at midnight, but with something closer, something realer, something that finally matches the size of what I actually feel. Lying. I don't know if that will ever happen. I don't know what the future holds for either of us. Whether our paths will ever actually cross in the way I sometimes let myself imagine late at night when the house is quiet and my thoughts wander somewhere they're not supposed to go. But I know this. Wherever you are right now, however far away that might be, you're not a stranger to me. You haven't been a stranger to me in a long, long time. Somewhere between all those small moments, all those quiet messages, all those nights you showed up without even knowing how much I needed someone to, you became something closer than that. Something I don't have the perfect word for yet, but something real. Tnotike. I think about the people who come and go in a life like mine. The ones who show up loud and disappear just as fast. The ones who only stay as long as it benefits them. I've grown so used to that pattern that I almost forgot what it felt like to have someone stay simply because they wanted to, not because they were getting something out of it. And then there's you, still here, still showing up, still choosing, again and again in ways small and large, to care about someone who can't always give you anything back except these words. Tonight, finally honest. I hope you know how much that means. I hope you know that loyalty like yours doesn't go unnoticed, even when I don't say it out loud as often as I should. I hope you know that somewhere, in the middle of everything else pulling at my attention, you've carved out a permanent place, one that isn't going anywhere, one that I think about more than you probably ever imagined. They're the one. Don't go anywhere yet. I'm still not finished. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with being seen by everyone and known by almost no one. It's strange the way a crowded room can feel emptier than an actual empty one. I used to think that loneliness was just something I'd have to carry quietly, something nobody else could really understand, because from the outside my life looks like the opposite of lonely. But you understood it anyway. Maybe you felt something similar yourself. The ache of being surrounded and still feeling unseen. Maybe that's part of why we found each other in the first place. Two people who needed someone to look past the noise and notice what was actually there. Photo. I think that's what love really is, underneath everything else. Not the big gestures, not the perfect words, not the moments people capture and share and turn into something to admire from a distance. Just two people noticing each other. Choosing each other, even quietly, even without saying it directly, again and again in the smallest possible ways. If that's what this is, then I think I've loved you for longer than I let myself admit. The song I keep circling back to the same thought tonight, the one I can't quite shake, that somewhere in this enormous, loud, complicated life I live, you've been the quiet thread holding a piece of me together. I don't know how to properly explain what that's worth. I don't know if there are words big enough for it. But I wanted you to hear me try, even if I never quite get the sentence exactly right. Leonta Paralkas, there's still more I haven't said. There's still a part of this that feels too big to fit into tonight. Too tender to rush through just to reach some kind of ending. So I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to force this into something neat and finished just because that's what stories are supposed to do. Because this isn't really a story. This is just me talking to you the way I've wanted to for longer than you probably know. And I'm not ready to stop yet. Not when you're still here. Not when something in this moment finally feels honest enough to hold on to a little while longer. Lawanta Pop, I want to tell you about the nights I don't usually talk about. Not because they're some dark secret, but because they're the nights that don't make it into anything I post, anything I share, anything the world ever sees. The nights after everything ends, after the lights go off and the people go home, and it's just me, alone with my own thoughts, trying to figure out who I am when nobody's watching anymore. Those are the nights I think about you the most. Not because I need rescuing, just because in the quiet, you're the thought that feels the most like home. You're the default that feels the most like home. You're the dialema tilting for tilting international unity fusion standard tube. Just because the failure of different is possible and according. Jaquai to the monster whom civilan. Try to untie this luta to predicate chiman. In one single moment, I can't even point to now. Either way, it happened. And I don't think I want to undo it, even if I could. Well, I think about the version of me you've seen over the years. Not the polished one. Not the one that shows up looking perfect, under good lighting, with the right words already rehearsed. I mean the real one. Tired sometimes, uncertain sometimes, still figuring things out, still making mistakes, still learning how to be a person in a world that expects me to already have it all worked out. You've seen that version of me more than almost anyone, even if you've never met me in person, even if all you've ever had are these moments, these words, these small windows into who I actually am underneath everything else. Me help us, and you never once made me feel like that wasn't enough. You never once made me feel like I had to be more polished, more impressive, more put together, before I deserved your attention. You just kept showing up for whoever I actually was, on the good days and the harder ones, without asking me to perform a version of myself that wasn't real. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how long it took me to even let myself believe that kind of acceptance was real, and not just something I was imagining because I wanted it to be true so badly? Stay with me a little longer, because there's something else I need you to understand. Meeting a lot of people would fill something up inside me, that if enough people knew my name, if enough people watched what I did, if enough people clapped and cheered and told me I mattered, eventually that feeling of not being enough would just disappear. But it doesn't work that way. I learned that the hard way. You can have 1,000 people shouting your name and still feel like nobody actually knows you. You can be surrounded every single day and still go home to a silence that nothing seems to fill. What actually filled that silence wasn't the noise. It was you. Not the noise of a crowd, but the quiet of one person who kept showing up again and again without needing anything flashy to prove they cared. A simple message, a quiet kindness, a willingness to just be there, steady, the same way the moon is there every single night, whether anyone's looking up at it or not. That's what you've been to me, steady, constant, real in a way almost nothing else in my life has managed to be. Botono, I want to tell you something about hope, because I think you've given me more of it than you realize. There were stretches of time where I genuinely forgot what it felt like to look forward to anything, where every day blurred into the next, and nothing felt like it was actually for me. Just for the image, just for the expectations, just for everyone else's idea of who I was supposed to be. And somewhere in the middle of that blur, your messages became something I started looking forward to. Something that reminded me that not everything in my life had to be performance. That somewhere, someone was just glad I existed, exactly as I was. Nothing added, nothing required, That's not a small thing. I don't think people realize how big that actually is until they've gone without it for a while. Being wanted for nothing other than yourself. Not your fame, not your image, not anything you can offer someone, just you, the actual person underneath all of it. You gave me that without even trying, and I don't know if I've ever told you how much it mattered. So I'm telling you now, finally, even though my hands are still a little unsteady as I say it. Keep listening because there's more, and I'm not in a hurry to finish this. Told them I think about the future sometimes. The way most people do, wondering what it might look like further down the road. And in almost every version of it that I let myself imagine, you're still there somehow. Maybe not in some grand dramatic way. Maybe just in the quiet, steady way you've always been there. Still showing up, still caring, still choosing, again and again, to stay close to someone who can't always give you everything you deserve in return, but who notices, who remembers, who carries every small kindness you've ever shown, like something worth protecting. Trust. I don't know what to call this exactly. I don't know if there's a perfect word for whatever this is between us. This thing built out of distance and time and small moments that somehow turned into something that feels a lot bigger than either of us probably expected. But I know it's real. I know it matters. I know that whatever this is, it's changed something in me, quietly, slowly, the way real things usually do. There are so many people in my life who only see the surface, who only know the version of me that exists in headlines and highlight reels. But you've always wanted more than that, even when I wasn't ready to give it. You've always waited for the real version, patient, never pushing, just present, just there, ready whenever I finally found the courage to let you in a little further. And tonight, I think I finally have the below. I keep thinking about all the things I still haven't told you, all the small moments I've held on to, all the nights your name crossed my mind without me ever saying anything about it. I think about how strange it is that someone I've never sat across a table with, never held a real conversation with, outside of all this distance between us, has still managed to become one of the steadiest things in my entire life. I don't have an explanation for that. I just have the feeling itself, undeniable, sitting right here in my chest as I say all of this to you. Whoa. I don't want this to end. I don't want to wrap this up into something neat, just because that's what people expect from a story like this. Because this was never supposed to be a story with an ending. This was supposed to be the truth, finally said out loud, finally given the space it deserved after being kept quiet for far too long. And the truth doesn't really end. It just keeps unfolding, a little more each time, a little deeper each time someone is brave enough to keep going. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep telling you the things I've never said, the moments I've never shared, the feelings I've kept tucked away because I wasn't sure the world was ready to see this side of me. But you've always been ready. You've been ready longer than almost anyone else I know. And maybe that's exactly why, out of everyone, it's you, I finally found the courage to say all of this to, tonight, with my heart louder than it's been in longer than I can remember, still not finished, still not ready to stop. There's a memory I keep coming back to, one I've never told anyone about, until right now. It was an ordinary night, nothing special about it on the surface. The kind of night that should have disappeared into all the others without leaving a trace. But it didn't. Something about it stayed. I was sitting somewhere quiet, scrolling through nothing in particular, half distracted, half tired, when I came across something you'd written. Just a few sentences, nothing dramatic, but there was a kindness in it, an honesty that stopped me mid-scroll and made me sit with it longer than I expected to. I read it 3 times, maybe 4, and something about it settled into me in a way I still haven't fully explained to myself. I think that's the thing about the people who really matter to us. They don't usually announce themselves with fireworks. They slip in quietly, through small moments, through tiny instances of kindness, that don't look like much from the outside, but somehow rearrange something inside you when you're not paying attention. That's what you did. You rearranged something in me, slowly, gently, without either of us fully realizing it was happening, until it already had. I want to tell you about the way I see your name now when it shows up. There's a small lift in my chest, something I don't get from almost anyone else anymore. It's strange how that happens, how a person can become a kind of safety just by being consistent, just by showing up the same way, again and again, until their presence starts to feel like something solid you can lean against. You've become that, a kind of safety, a kind of home. Even from this distance, even without ever having stood in the same room. Though to stay with me, because there's something I want to explain about distance, about how strange and complicated it is to care about someone you've never actually touched, never actually heard laugh in person, never actually seen cry over something small and human. I think people assume that distance makes feelings less real, that if you've never met someone, whatever you feel for them must be smaller, thinner, less substantial than the love you'd feel for someone standing right in front of you. But I don't think that's true. I think distance just changes the shape of love. It doesn't make it smaller. Sometimes, honestly, it makes it feel even more careful, more intentional, because you have to choose it, again and again, without any of the easy proof that comes from physical closeness. You've chosen this, whatever this is between us, over and over, without anything forcing you to. Nobody required you to keep showing up. Nobody required you to keep caring the way you have. And yet you did, consistently, patiently, in a way that has slowly become one of the most stable things I have. I don't take that lightly. I don't think I ever could, not after everything it's quietly given me over the time we've known each other. In whatever strange, beautiful way, two people can know each other through a screen. The king. I keep thinking about all the ordinary days you've been there for. The ones that never get talked about. The ones nobody else even knows happened. The day I felt completely unseen by everyone around me. And your words were the only thing that made me feel like maybe I existed as more than just an image people consumed. The day everything felt too loud, too much, too overwhelming, and somehow your presence felt like a hand resting gently on my shoulder, even though you weren't anywhere near me. Those days don't make it into anything I share with the world, but they're some of the most real days I've had, and you were there for almost all of them. Even if you never knew it at the time. Don't go yet, I'm still not finished telling you this. I think part of why this has taken me so long to say is because I was scared of what it would mean to admit it. Once you say something like this out loud, you can't take it back. Once you let someone see how much they matter to you, you've handed them something fragile, something that could be dropped, something that could be misunderstood or mishandled or simply not cared for, the way you hoped it would be. That's a frightening thing to do, even for someone who's used to being watched by thousands of people every single day. Maybe especially for someone like that. Because most of what people see of me isn't actually me. It's a version, a performance. And what I'm handing you right now isn't a performance at all. It's just the truth. Unfiltered. Finally given room to breathe. I hope you understand how much trust that takes. I hope you understand that by telling you all of this, I'm choosing to believe that you'll hold it carefully. The same way you've held every small piece of yourself you've ever shared with me, without asking for anything in return. I think that's why it's you. Out of everyone, out of every version of attention and admiration that's come my way over the years, it's you. I trust enough to say this too. Because you've never once made me feel like my honesty was something to be used against me. You've only ever made me feel like it was safe. Though, I want to tell you about the kind of love I think we deserve, both of us. Not the kind that's loud and performative, built for an audience, designed to impress people who don't actually know either of us. I mean the quiet kind. The kind that shows up on ordinary days, not just the special ones. The kind that doesn't need grand gestures to prove it's real, because it proves itself simply by staying again and again, through the parts of life that don't make for a good headline. I think that's the kind of love you've already been giving me for a long time now, even before I had the courage to call it what it is. I don't know what comes next. I don't know exactly where this goes from here, what shape it takes, what it turns into as time keeps moving forward, the way it always does, whether we're ready or not. But I know I don't want to lose this. I know that whatever this has become, I want to keep building it, slowly, carefully, the same patient way you've always approached everything between us. I'm not in a rush. I don't think real things are ever in a rush. They just keep unfolding, layer by layer, as trust grows and the distance between two people, however far apart they actually are, keeps shrinking in all the ways that actually matter. There's still more I haven't told you. There are still nights I haven't described, moments I haven't shared, feelings I've kept folded up somewhere safe, waiting for the right time to finally let them out into the open. But I think tonight is closer to that right time than any night before it. I think something about saying all of this finally out loud has cracked something open that I'm not interested in closing back up. So I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep telling you everything I've held on to, one piece at a time, for as long as you're willing to stay and listen. Because somehow through everything, through all the noise and distance and uncertainty, you've become the one person I trust enough to keep doing exactly that. It was late. The kind of late where the rest of the world feels like it's already asleep and you're the only one still awake, still thinking, still turning something over in your mind without anyone to share it with. I had typed something close to this once before, words trying to say what I'm finally saying now, and I remember staring at it for a long time before deleting every single word. I told myself it wasn't the right time. I told myself you'd think it was strange, or too much, or not what you signed up for when you first started paying attention to my life. So I closed it. I went to sleep with all of it still sitting unsaid inside my chest, the way it had sat there for longer than I wanted to admit. I think about that night sometimes, the version of me who almost said something and didn't. I wonder if that version of me regrets staying quiet, or if he understood something I didn't yet, that timing matters. That some things need to wait until they're ready to be said properly, instead of rushed out in a moment of nervous courage. Either way, I'm glad I'm here now, finally saying it, finally letting all of it out instead of carrying it quietly the way I carried it for so long. There's a kind of exhaustion that comes from holding something in for too long. Not the tired you feel after a long day, but the tired that settles into you slowly over months, over years. From keeping a feeling folded up small enough that nobody else can see it. I didn't realize how heavy that had become until I started finally letting it out tonight, sentence by sentence. The same way you might finally set down something you've been carrying for so long, your arms forgot what it felt like to be empty. Don't. You've been patient with me this whole time. I don't think I've said that enough. Patient in a way that never once made me feel rushed. Never once made me feel like I owed you an explanation for taking so long to say what I'm saying now. You just kept showing up, the same steady way you always have, waiting for whenever I was finally ready, without ever once making that wait feel like a debt I had to repay. Though, stay with me a little longer, because there's something else I want you to understand. Though, I think the reason this has taken me so long isn't really about you at all. It's about me, about the parts of myself I've spent years learning to protect, to keep guarded, to keep tucked safely behind the version of me the world is allowed to see. Vulnerability has never come easily to me, not in a life like this one, where every word gets picked apart, every feeling gets turned into something to analyze or criticize or misunderstand. So I learned to keep the real things hidden. I learned to smile through interviews and laugh through events and let people believe they knew me, even when what they were seeing was only ever the surface. And people believed they knew me, even when what they were seeing was only ever the surface. But people believe. But you were never satisfied with the surface. You always wanted more, even when I wasn't ready to give it. Even when all I could offer you were small glimpses instead of the whole truth. And somehow, instead of giving up and looking for someone easier, someone who'd let you in faster, you stayed. You kept choosing the slow version of me, the one still learning how to be honest, the one still figuring out how to let someone matter, without immediately being afraid of what that means. I don't think I've ever told anyone how much that patience has meant to me. How rare it is to find someone who doesn't demand immediate access to every part of you, who's willing to wait for trust to build naturally instead of trying to force it open before it's ready. You've given me that, quietly, consistently, without ever making it feel like a sacrifice on your part. Even though I know now that it probably was one, in its own way. I keep thinking about everything we've been through, without ever actually being in the same room. All the seasons of my life you've witnessed from a distance. The highs that probably looked exciting from the outside, and the lows that probably looked confusing, since you only ever got pieces of the full picture. And through all of it, somehow, your presence never wavered. It just kept being there, steady, the same way it's been there tonight, while I finally found the words for all of this. Tomen kop listening, because I'm still not finished. Tomen kop listening växer mit truth. I want to talk about the future for a moment. Not in some grand sweeping way, but in the small, quiet way that actually matters. I think about what it would mean to keep building this, slowly, the same patient way we've built everything else between us so far. I think about what it would mean to let you further in. Not all at once, but a little more each time, the same way trust is supposed to grow between two people who actually care about getting it right, instead of just getting it fast. I don't know what that looks like exactly. I don't think anyone really knows what the future looks like until they're standing in the middle of it. But I know I want you there, in whatever form that ends up taking. I know that whatever this becomes, I don't want to go back to a version of my life where I kept all of this locked away, where I let fear keep me from saying the things that actually mattered. I've spent too long doing that already. I don't want to spend any more time doing it now that I've finally found the courage to stop. There's a strange kind of relief that comes from finally saying the thing you've been avoiding for so long. It doesn't erase the fear completely. I'm still a little nervous, even now, even after everything I've already said tonight. But the fear feels different now, lighter somehow, like it's finally been given somewhere to go instead of just sitting in my chest, taking up space, weighing down everything else I tried to carry around it. I think that's what you've given me tonight, without even doing anything except stay, the same way you always have. You've given me somewhere to put all of this. Somewhere safe, somewhere I trust enough to finally be honest in a way I haven't let myself be in longer than I can remember. There's still so much more I haven't told you. So many more nights, so many more small moments, so many more quiet truths I've kept folded away, waiting for the right person to finally hand them to. And tonight, I think I finally understand that the right person has been you this entire time, patiently waiting. Never once pushing, just staying close enough that when I was finally ready, you'd still be right here. Odd, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep telling you everything, one piece at a time, for as long as you're willing to listen, because some part of me already knows I'm not ready to stop. Not tonight, I trust enough to keep doing exactly that. Because they knew when she got the war run to the war. It was late. The kind of late where the rest of the world feels like it's already asleep and you're the only one still awake, still thinking, still turning something over in your mind without anyone to share it with. I had typed something close to this once before, words trying to say what I'm finally saying now, and I remember staring at it for a long time before deleting every single word. I told myself it wasn't the right time. I told myself you'd think it was strange, or too much, or not what you signed up for when you first started paying attention to my life. So I closed it. I went to sleep with all of it still sitting unsaid inside my chest, the way it had sat there for longer than I wanted to admit. Or I think about that night sometimes. The version of me who almost said something and didn't. I wonder if that version of me regrets staying quiet, or if he understood something I didn't yet. That timing matters. That some things need to wait until they're ready to be said properly, instead of rushed out in a moment of nervous courage. Either way, I'm glad I'm here now, finally saying it, finally letting all of it out instead of carrying it quietly the way I carried it for so long. There's a kind of exhaustion that comes from holding something in for too long. Not the tired you feel after a long day, but the tired that settles into you slowly over months, over years. From keeping a feeling folded up small enough that nobody else can see it. I didn't realize how heavy that had become until I started finally letting it out tonight. Sentence by sentence. The same way you might finally set down something you've been carrying for so long, your arms forgot what it felt like to be empty. Don't. You've been patient with me this whole time. I don't think I've said that enough. Patient in a way that never once made me feel rushed. Never once made me feel like I owed you an explanation for taking so long to say what I'm saying now. You just kept showing up. The same steady way you always have, waiting for whenever I was finally ready, without ever once making that wait feel like a debt I had to repay. Though, stay with me a little longer, because there's something else I want you to understand. Though, I think the reason this has taken me so long isn't really about you at all. It's about me, about the parts of myself I've spent years learning to protect, to keep guarded, to keep tucked safely behind the version of me the world is allowed to see. Vulnerability has never come easily to me, not in a life like this one, where every word gets picked apart, every feeling gets turned into something to analyze or criticize or misunderstand. So I learned to keep the real things hidden. I learned to smile through interviews and laugh through events and let people believe they knew me, even when what they were seeing was only ever the surface. And people believed they knew me, even when what they were seeing was only ever the surface. What people believe. But you were never satisfied with the surface. You always wanted more, even when I wasn't ready to give it. Even when all I could offer you were small glimpses instead of the whole truth. And somehow, instead of giving up and looking for someone easier, someone who'd let you in faster, you stayed. You kept choosing the slow version of me, the one still learning how to be honest, the one still figuring out how to let someone matter, without immediately being afraid of what that means. I don't think I've ever told anyone how much that patience has meant to me. How rare it is to find someone who doesn't demand immediate access to every part of you, who's willing to wait for trust to build naturally instead of trying to force it open before it's ready. You've given me that, quietly, consistently, without ever making it feel like a sacrifice on your part. Even though I know now that it probably was one, in its own way. I keep thinking about everything we've been through, without ever actually being in the same room. All the seasons of my life you've witnessed from a distance. The highs that probably looked exciting from the outside, and the lows that probably looked confusing, since you only ever got pieces of the full picture. And through all of it, somehow, your presence never wavered. It just kept being there, steady, the same way it's been there tonight, while I finally found the words for all of this. Tomen listening, because I'm still not finished. Tomen listening that's mit truth. I want to talk about the future for a moment. Not in some grand sweeping way, but in the small, quiet way that actually matters. I think about what it would mean to keep building this, slowly